So guys, whether you're taking the IELTS academic or the general, speaking module is generally one of the toughest modules for students out there. And even after training hundreds of thousands of students, I can tell you this remains to be one of the biggest causes of low scores for many students. Personally, my score on the IELTS speaking has been 8.5 on my latest test. And today in this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can actually go ahead and use some of my 20 tips in this video, by the way. You just listen to these tips, incorporate these into your own preparation, and you will see how your scores will be going towards a perfect 9. All right. Remember that these tips are tried and tested, and on YouTube there's multiple channels endorsing information that is not correct. If you'd like, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel over here for genuine tips and tricks always regarding the IELTS or your study or work overseas processing. Let's move on to the tips. But before we begin, I want to tell you that some tips are going to be general. They apply to all these sections, and in the end we'll talk about some specific tips section wise. All right, so what are sections? First off, point number 1 under general tips I have is that no matter how great you may be at speaking English, unless and until you know the format of the speaking module, really you're not going to be able to perform as well as you could. All right, so really drill down, know the format of the test. For instance, in the IELTS speaking section, you will have 3 parts. The first part is a general introduction where the examiner will be asking you questions about general life that you may have, such as, family, job, education, or your studies, for instance. After that, part 2 will be where you will be speaking on a general everyday topic, but this will be extempore speaking. The topic will be given to you in a cue card. For instance, take a look at this question on your screen right now. This could be the question. You will get about a minute to prepare, and then you will have to speak about this cue card for 1 to 2 minutes. You will not be interrupted by the examiner during these minutes. Finally, part 3 of the speaking section will be a discussion on abstract topics. Generally, what we have seen is that examiner will take some portion of your part 2 and twist it into the question for part 3. For instance, the question could be, what kind of meals are the most popular in your country? Now understand this, the part 3 question is very abstract. The answers could differ from person to person. However, at the end of the day, remember that there is no wrong answer. You could say anything, but as long as your English speaking is correct, you would be graded very well on that answer. Of course, stick to the point and don't digress too much. Let's move on to our general tip number 2. That is to reach the test center early. Why? Because you're not in a rush. If you're in a rush and your turn comes up right after you reach the test center, generally what happens is your mind is not prepared. When your mind is not prepared, you're not going to see a very good test score, even though your ability may surpass what you are doing that day. Point number 3 is to maintain eye contact with the examiner. Now, I'm not saying keep looking on into their eyes like this. Don't do that. That's creepy. However, every 1 or 2 seconds, every 3 seconds, max to max, look them in the eye for about, half a second or 1 second, and then you can continue looking wherever you want. But of course, try to make as much eye contact as possible. That would be the minimal eye contact I would recommend. Point number 4 is to never digress when you are being asked a question. Sometimes what happens is, let me give you an example. Examiner might ask you, what's your favorite sweet dish? And for me, I could go around somewhere around saying, hey, my favorite sweet dish is Srikhand, and Srikhand is a Maharashtrian delicacy. And then I start talking about Maharashtra and how great they are and what kind of things they have built and how their food is famous all around the world. However, remember that I was to answer the question that what is my favorite sweet dish and not give a background of the Maharashtrian delicacies and how famous they are around the world. So it's very easy to digress, so don't forget the question. Keep it to the point and you should be good. Point number 5 is that paraphrasing the question might help a lot of times. Let's say you are asked, what's the best way to buy a house? Now, instead of just starting like, I think that instead what you could do is you could buy yourself time by just saying the ideal way to buy a house, you ask, and then you can continue from there. But don't repeat the same exact question. Just try to modulate it a little bit. All right. And you should be good. Point number 6 is to make sure that you use a wide range of vocabulary. For instance, instead of saying her eyes looked good, you could say she had beautiful sparkly eyes. Instead of saying the classroom had many people from different countries around the world, you could say the classroom consisted of a rather cosmopolitan group of people. Point number 7. Don't speak too fast. Speak clearly at a regular pace. You also don't want to be too fast, then too slow, and then too fast, too slow. No. Always try to be at a singular pace. However, at the end of the day, keep it at a normal pace. Don't be too fast, don't be too slow. Point number 8 is to remember that you're not being marked on your personal opinions, but you're speaking. Remember, in most cases, there are no wrong answers. But you have to have the English speaking skills to deliver your answers. Point number 9 is to use linking words whenever you are speaking. Don't just keep on going. Instead, try to incorporate some of these words to link your sentences. The words could be something like for instance, however, consequently, regardless, in spite of, etc., etc., right? And here's a chart on your screen if you would like to learn these linking words for yourself. You can learn them, try to incorporate them in your daily life, and I'm sure that you will realize that they really catch on pretty easy if you are really serious about learning them. Point number 10, don't use or as fillers, right? Instead, just take a pause, just take a 2, 3, 5-second pause if you're starting out with your answer, or if you are in the middle of a sentence, taking a half a second or 1 second pause is okay. Instead of saying, it's not attractive at all, it brings down your score. Trust me, we've seen this with hundreds of students. They can't let go of this habit, but it's very important that you practice again and again if you have something like that. Point number 11 is that confidence remains the key. Remember, you are speaking to a native speaker. They're going to be in front of you. They're going to be seeing your body language. Even though they don't have to grade you on that directly, the human mind, it's a sick beast. It can't forego those expressions that you're making, the kind of body language that you have. And trust me, whether you like it or not, I can tell you for a fact, this does come into play. Point number 12 is to use intonation. What is intonation? The way I'm speaking right now. It's cadences in my voice. I go high and low on some notes. Let me give you an example. Let's say I had to speak some sentence and I will speak it first without intonation. Because she prohibited me from coming, I was upset with her. Now that is not really very attractive. If I keep on speaking 4 or 5 sentences like these, you're gonna leave the video. You're not gonna watch. However, try this. Because she prohibited me from coming, I was upset with her. You see, the cadences that we have right here, that's how a native speaker also speaks. And that's what you want to incorporate in your speaking as well. Point number 13 is to practice, but only with the official material. There's about 15 to 16 guides for academic and about 10 to 12 guides for general that are available easily for a very cheap price. Either you buy it off of Amazon or you buy the whole group on our partner website, newstudymaterial.com. The link is in the description. But you can get all of them at a very cheap price. Don't go ahead and practice by speaking random things about an apple or random things about a fruit or something. What you really want over here is to really understand the kinds of questions that have been asked. Now, each of these books have 4 complete tests, and that means that within these 4 complete tests, of course, even if you're looking at 10 books, you have 40 tests at least of speaking language itself. So when there's so much official material of previous papers out there, why do you want to skip that and do something else, right? Now, general tips are over. We're gonna move on to the section-wise tips. The first tip is for part 1 of your speaking test. Remember that we talked about part 1, general introduction. This section is generally around 4 to 5 minutes. And my advice to you would be that whenever you are asked a question or whenever you initiate a conversation with the examiner as well, try to keep your answer somewhere around 3 lines on an average. It could be 2 or 4 as well, and a couple of questions, depends again. But don't make it too long or too short either. Both of these would not get you a lot of points. My 15th tip is for part 2, and that is when you're given the cue card, right, and you have to answer, you should always prepare already in advance to answer between 1.5 to 2 minutes. 1.5 to 2 minutes is the ideal duration, and if you can do that, trust me, you are golden, my friend. So whenever you're preparing for the part 2, and whenever you look at cue cards and you get 1 minute to prepare enough that you can speak for 1.5 to 2 minutes. My 16th tip is also for part 2, and that is to tell a story, give examples. The only reason why I say that is because sometimes when you're speaking for 1.5 to 2 minutes, you don't really have as much content. So personally, you have to create a template. I would say, start with a punchline, then give reason 1 and give example 1. Give reason 2, example 2, and then conclude. Something like that, you can easily speak for 1.5 to 2 minutes. My point number 17 is also for part 2, and that is not to worry if the examiner stops you in between. It usually just means that they have everything they need, they know what points to give you, they know which band to give you for part 2, and that's good enough. My 18th point is for part 3, that is the general discussion. The point is that you should not focus on your personal opinion. Remember, you're not being graded for it, as I mentioned. Whatever you say, there's no wrong answer, so don't focus too much about maybe I'm going wrong, maybe I should have said that, maybe I should say that, maybe I'm too left, maybe I'm too right. Doesn't matter. Just try to convey your true, pure opinion, because again, your opinion itself does not matter, but the fact that you deliver your opinion to the examiner is what matters in this question, my friend. Point number 19th is to buy yourself time, and you don't just buy yourself time by waiting for 3 or 4 seconds and not just speaking. You can just say something like just like I did right now. Right? So something like that can often be used to kind of carry out a conversation, bring it more into a conversational tone, and buy yourself time. My point number 20 for you is to record yourself whenever you are practicing by yourself. A lot of cases, people don't know how to evaluate their own score. That's okay. Record yourself and compare it to the sample answers. If you don't have sample answers, look at the videos on my channel. I have posted one video where I'm doing live solving of a complete IELTS speaking section. You can actually do those questions with me. You can pause before I answer the questions. You can answer yourself, and then you can play the video and compare your answers to mine. The video is available on my channel. So guys, these were my top 20 tips for the IELTS speaking section. If you'd like more and if you need more help regarding your case, you can always sign up on whyamgrad.com, where we will also be giving you much of the free study material for IELTS right after you sign up. That's it, my friend. Subscribe to the channel, share this video with people who need it, and if you'd like to be connected, you can connect with me on my Instagram page, where we post hundreds of these posts again every month about the IELTS and studying and working overseas. Thank you so much for the time you spent with me today, and I wish you all the best for your IELTS speaking.